after all, the Maidan was sustained. I mean, there were tens and from time to time even hundreds of thousands of people joining Maidan in Kiev. And I wanted to ask you, and this is partly about the organization and planning, how Maidan was organized itself. How was it sustained, and what problems and challenges it faced, and maybe you could also reflect on the Euromaidan or Automaidan campaign as well. That was quite effective and lively during the protests.
Though, as Olga told, there were not just young people and activists there, it's true, but of course there were, I guess there were a lot of well-organized groups who were not prepared for Maidan, but different NGOs, different activists of anti-corruption movement, people from the media. In the way it showed that there were all these groups, it wasn't like that there was one umbrella and they were working under somebody's umbrella. But somehow everybody had a feeling that there should be impact and my joint effort would be bigger. So how can I come up with organization? So for instance, there was such initiative as the Hromadska civil platform of Maidan, which actually was created sometimes doing media, sometimes it was involving, for instance, the activists from the movement like Save Old Kiev, from the movement against, who was like campaigning for healthy nation, or all this, or for anti-corruption. But they came together, understood that they can do something together, and were maintaining actually the place, from bringing the woods to making the, bringing the tea in the beginning, especially during the first week. And all of a sudden, all these active groups in the society started to understand that they can come. So this organization or this group of friends, I was following how the artists were understanding that we should do something together, so we would build some community. So there was this, not just, I won't say professional, but friends community, professional communities coming up. And it was a process. It was a lot of people were trying to explain us how it was exactly organized, for instance, the self-defense. But self-defense, and it was like very clear, we couldn't really get it, because the people were coming, and then there was understanding that something is lacking. So especially at the place of Maidan, there was a natural process of trying to understand where would be my impact. So somebody understood that, wow, we need some protection. And then volunteers were coming, and that was the people trying to explain, so what kind of people needed? Oh, they needed those who would stay there at night, and we would make a defense unit. And out of this defense unit, there were more defense units grows. Later, when there was this idea that it's not enough to stay at Maidan, people thought what would be another strategy. So the people who had a car, so that we would drive to because the president is not there, the government is not there. The important is first to drive around the city with the flags or with something just to show our presence. And later, for instance, to come to the residency of the president or the high official, just to, that they know we are there. It's not just a Maidan itself. And what is a wrong perception sometimes, I remember I was arguing with one of the journalists who, in his report, named Automaidan militia, and I said, like, what is a militia? Automaidan is not militia. Actually, everybody who has a car at the moment when he joined the protest could belong to Automaidan. But later, after it takes time, I guess it was the first month and the second month, there was understanding that this kind of, it requires more organization, and these initiatives were establishing in the process. So the whole Maidan was always a process of organizing different entities and rebuilding them. But what is important also to mention that when you come and try to explain which organization took a bigger part, it wasn't like the case. But somehow, without the communication, the strategy would be like that, to see where you need it, where something is lacking, that the first job of any entity, any person to come to Maidan would be like, oh, we have hundreds of people in the kitchen, we have hundreds of people bringing in tea, so what else I can do? And that would be the first question activists would ask, and out of that, they would build something new. Like at the moment when the Euromaidan SOS, helping the people, appeared when there was a need, like a physical threat to the people. The night watch in the hospital, there was such a practice when the people were organizing themselves to stay in the hospitals that the police won't arrest the wounded. It turned from some kind of couple of people, and then it grew. So that was the initial process.
Thank you.
Very complex.
Olena, yes, go ahead if you'd like to.
Just one point is, I agree with Natalia that it was a horizontal network. And even if we look at this idea of sotnyas, of hundreds, units of 100 people, but usually it can be even more than 100. Maidan was organized in sotnyas, and Maidan, which is virtual Maidan, not physical Maidan, but if we talk about Maidan as a global movement and a movement which is online and offline, it was also organized in sotnyas. And if we look how those sotnyas were named, we understand that it's indeed what Natalia is talking about, where you are needed, where you can apply your skills. Like there was a cyber 100, there was a self-defense hundreds, there was, right now they even have Kancelarska sotnya, right, Natalia? Where they have bureaucratic 100 people who are now gluing together the papers that were shredded by the former regime when they were fleeing, and right now they are trying to restore the documents. So that's why I think it's a great example of how the society can self-organize without having a real strategy, but by just approaching this from more tactical perspective.
Yes, Natalia?
I would just raise the point that it was organized not just by activities. You know, the point was that you really have to do something, and then you would be a sotnya or like this 100. So everything was organized, not just, it's like not like a unity of hundreds of different organizations who like doing something you don't understand what, but the activity was the moving and the ones which given the name and the task. Without those activity, it would be a mess. That was the reason, like just the people standing on Maidan, it wouldn't probably like work or something, but the activity was in the core of all these things.